Put me on GQ. Put me on GQ. I help my community out, servicing all of you. Put me on GQ. Put me on GQ. What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Mike Fulahope here. I have a wonderful and beautiful guest, intelligent girl, Alana, right here. She has her channel. You want to tell them about your channel real quick?
Sure, yeah. I have a channel called AAHANA, used to be called WannAlana, and basically I talk about just things that I'm going through, how to have healthy relationships, how to deal with anxiety, just all of life's issues that come up.
And her channel is it's a rising channel. It's very intellectual. It's a lot you can gain from watching her videos.
Thank you, Mike.
No problem. So I have called her out here today to kind of do a discussion / interview type of thing. There's a video going up on my channel. It's not up there yet. It will get up to you by the time you see this video. It's probably already up. And basically the video was 3 reasons why every male should be a feminist. The reason why I wanted to make this video is because I've been, I have sisters. I have a sister, I have a mother, and I'm just a good person. I felt as if after a lot of stuff is going on, I've watched movies about just abusing of women's rights and little girls getting sex trafficked, and just like how we think of this whole dynamic between male and female, how they exist and how it can be very toxic, make these really toxic environments. I just felt like I was tired of hearing women have to ask males to engage in fighting for equality for both sexes, you know what I mean? And I think that is a kind of a sad reality that we have to deal with, is that a lot of people don't really care because some people are they're privileged from that, or they kind of they benefit from the inequalities that exist in our society, or they just don't give a damn, which is kind of really sad. So I brought her today. I wanted to hear her thoughts on this kind of phenomenon, and I also just wanted to, I wanted to, use you a little bit.
Hell yeah.
You're such a great YouTuber.
Yeah.
So, I guess to start it off, like I said, I watch your channels. I'm a big ass fan.
Thank you. It means a lot, seriously.
And my viewers, I don't cuss. If I cuss, it's serious. So, I love what you're doing with a lot of the videos that you make on, health is so relevant to our society and our daily lives. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on just kind of how do you feel about the environment and relative to the dynamic of females and males, and what are your thoughts? How do you feel, first of all, you as a female? What does it mean to be? Does that mean anything to you, or how do you take pride in being a woman, or do you not care about the sexes, or how do you?
Well, so I definitely feel like in the past few years I've been able to embrace more of my masculine side, which has made me feel more complete as a female, because I feel like growing up I never really felt fully girly, but I was also really afraid of being compared to men. A little, but that's the thing, because I didn't like sports. I hated. I was just kind of rejected from both groups. It's just because I wasn't super girly enough to really fit in with a lot of the women, but I also hated sports and things like that. I was just a weird kid,
Yeah.
But
I'm taking notes, by the way.
no, it's all good. But I think that it's weird because in the past few years I've embraced both sides of myself. I don't know, it's weird. I mean, you know me pretty decently. Kind of how I dress and how I present myself and everything. It's usually pretty chill.
Yeah. You're very unique and very laid back. I like that. That's what we connect.
Yeah, it's pretty chill. But lately there have been times where I'll just feel the urge to get really dressed up, or really really feminine, where I'll wear these clothes that embrace like my curves or my like certain feminine features, and I'll wear like makeup or like put my hair a certain way, and it makes me like, but now there's like a different intention behind it, because before I would do those, whenever I did those things, it was always to get attention from guys.
From it, right.
Whereas now I'm kind of like learning what my own style is, like learning what my
being you.
Yeah, and like feeling comfortable tapping into both aspects, because there are also days where I just wear like a hoodie, no makeup, and just like baggy clothes, and I still feel just as feminine.
Right.
Because it's just different aspects. So I think like for me, being a woman has just meant honing in on both masculine and female aspects and like trying to balance those both out in myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you feel as if like any of, obviously you've grown up in society, so like tell me about like some of the experiences that you've had relative to you being a female.
Okay.
Like what is it that I'm sure that you've had negatives and positives with relationships wise, or just like in general trying to get a job. Do you feel as if you're treated differently from some of the males that get hired, or do you feel as if there's kind of this kind of let's say chivalry isn't dead? Like, do you feel like you've been catered to because you're a woman, or what are some of the things like?
I think I've experienced kind of both ends of that spectrum, where I've like had experiences where, because the thing is that sexual energy is so powerful, it's so freaking strong, and
produces babies.
Yeah, it produces it's that creative
life,
force behind everything. And I've noticed that like maybe in situations where like maybe like more job related or opportunity creative project related situations, I've noticed that like if there's men involved who I can sense there's an attraction there, I've noticed that I get treated a certain way, get treated special or something, because there's that energy involved. It's like, it's not dry, like a cut and dry experience. It's almost like I know that I'm reaching out to you for this opportunity, but I know that I'm getting the opportunity because there's also this other energy that you're participating in. It's not that like, you know what I mean?
Right,
and so that's always hard to navigate, because you never know if like, because especially being a creative person, like I'm an artist, I love, like I don't just do my YouTube videos, I also do like dance videos, and I make music too, and I do like,
which we gotta do some collabs.
Yeah, I would love to, but like, so there's all these creative projects that I want to do because I'm an artist, but reaching out to the people who I want to work with sometimes can be hard to navigate, because you don't know if they're on the same page, if they want to connect with you for the same reason of making art, or because they're interested and they want to like, they're using the art as an excuse to just like hang out with you and get and and it's like it's
like some manipulative plot to get.
Well, it's like, it's weird because it's not, because I don't think that they're trying to be manipulative, because that's the thing too, is that I don't think that guys sometimes even realize
what they're doing.
Yeah, that I don't think they realize that like, are you doing this for the art, or are you doing it for a different reason? Because they might not even be aware of it. Because I'm guilty of it too. Like, I know that I've been in that situation where I've like, had an attraction to a guy, and I'll agree to do a project with him, but really there's also this underlying like energy there. Right. So, but then I've also been on the other side of the spectrum too, where like in certain job situations, not my current job is great, but like in past jobs that I've had, especially as a waitress, you notice the way women get treated in a negative way. Right. A very negative way. Like,
I feel like the atmosphere right there, or the space, is like, it allows for these kind of weird interactions.
Yeah, waitressing is such a unique
I was
world.
a host, so I used to see it too. Like, not even from like even going up to tables and stuff. Like, I used to watch my waitresses and waiters used to encounter. And that was always interesting, I definitely would say.
Yeah.
And the thing that like is like what you said earlier. Like, I feel like a lot of like the situations that occur sometimes, and I know this is how it was for me personally. I didn't know a lot of the stuff that I kind of had done unconsciously growing up, when I came to college, I became really conscious of it. And like, it was kind of also it was a turning point in my life too, because like I felt like, damn, like this whole time I've been doing stuff a certain way, and like they haven't necessarily been right or wrong, you know what I mean? Or that I could have been doing it differently, or I understood that like at that point in time that like I have been doing this without me knowing what I'm doing. It's just been second nature. And like I feel like a lot when it comes to like the whole relationship between like guys, dudes, and girls, you know what I mean? Like that's something that I had to grow on too, because like, you know, I used to play ball and stuff, and like, you know, there's always the dudes, the conversations in the locker room where we're just talking about girls that go to our school, and some of the stuff being said is kind of like,
fucked up.
Why are we saying that? Like now looking back on it, you know, back then it's like you're like it's normal engagement. We just talking about girls. Like, oh yeah, I'm going, you know, I'm trying to head up with that, and, you know, stuff like. But like that kind of like, I kind of came to the conclusion in college that a lot of that kind of casual talk is there underlines like this, like you said, this energy there that like could eventually lead to something bigger, like a lot worse, or if we're talking about the positive side of it, a lot more positive. So like that's where I kind of lead into my next question is, what are your pet peeves, and what are your like, you know, your likes when it comes to like to men approaching you, or just friendships with men, with guys, or you know, I guess just males in general, male figures in society in general.
So I think that, well, some of the things that I really like about certain approaches that men have or whatever, like I really like when a guy is just open and honest about his intentions, you know? Like if he is kind of trying to mask his intentions, like make it seem like he wants to talk to you for a certain reason when really he's just interested in you, I would rather you just say, hey, I think you're cool, let's hang out because I want to get to know you, as opposed to like, I need your help with this thing. Like, can you?
It saves you so much time if you just come straight out, I feel like.
Yeah, so I love it when guys are just upfront about what they are seeking out of the connection they have with you or whatever. And even if they don't know what they're seeking, to just be honest about that too. Like, hey, like I just feel very drawn to you. I don't know why, but I'd like to hang out. You know, like that I love. I love that, you know?
Right.
But what else? Things that I also really like. I love it when a guy can not be so aggressive sexually in the very beginning of things. Like, I mean, I think that's kind of an obvious one. I just feel like, but I still feel like I need to say it because not everyone knows that. Like,
unfortunately, I feel like it still needs to be said a lot too, because like I'm just telling you, like I feel like that there's a, and not all, but like there's ignorance that exists sometimes on that spectrum of things. Yeah,
because sometimes I wonder, like, if a guy, because I want to know, like, what does a guy get out of that? Like, are you okay? Like, now you had sex with someone, you whatever, but like, aren't you seeking a deeper connection? Like, don't you want that too?
Like, and that's I feel like that's a weird dynamic sometimes too. Is that like, when it comes to guys, like messing around with a bunch of, you know, girls or a bunch of women, like it's in there, and I guess in that demographic, it's kind of a cool thing, or, you know, it's it's good that
like it makes you more of a man, or something.
And then like when girls do that, have that same kind of attitude towards guys, it's, you know, they're looked on as negatives, they're called whores or any other kind of names that are kind of, you know, just like, it's kind of a one-sided thing, you know what I mean? It's kind of hypocritical. And I think that like when we're talking about like, especially here, like, you know, going to school, we're in that phase where like some of the stuff that you used to do, the stuff that you did in high school is not cool anymore. So you have like, this is like a melting pot of just a different, like, what is appropriate, what's not appropriate, or what me as an individual individual, I'm going to do this, and you can have a problem with it, or I'm going to like listen to what you have to say and like try to change my actions and my thoughts and yada yada yada. So you see these like protests, you see like these kind of like you can say arguments sometimes, you could say just like peace meetings, you know, between the two different sexes that occur. But having said that, are there any stories worth mentioning where you just kind of talked about like your kind of connection? Are there any like stories growing up that kind of stick out with you that kind of help you? I kind of understand this a little bit better about myself, about my womanhood, or just about like people in general.
Let me think. I mean, I guess just
or
kind of like
relationships too.
Well, I think in relationships, one thing that I've noticed, I guess like I've noticed that within my relationships, the similar issues kept on recycling themselves through different people and different connections. And it's taught me a lot about what I expect out of a man, like how I define a man and like what a man is and should be and everything. Because
watch that video.
Oh yeah, because it's like it's different for everyone, you know. But I've realized that, you know, from these interactions in my life, in relationships, I've realized that what I'm looking for is someone who can be very self-reflective, who can reflect on their actions and reflect how their actions impact things outside of themselves. And the reason why I've come to that is because, you know, I wasn't always like that. Like, I didn't always reflect on my own actions, but I don't know, these relationships, they really bring up things within, like, they're just teachers, relationships you have with people. They're all just teaching you what is acceptable and what's not acceptable for you. And, yeah, I don't know. I guess, like, I'm sorry, what was the question again?
No, you're good. I mean, you kind of touched on it. I was just like asking for like your kind of, if you had like a story to kind of tell where you kind of found, where you just figured out what you just said to me. It's just like these incidences these kind of things that we're talking about kind of come out through the experiences that you have, and there's that one moment sometimes that like it's like, dang, like.
Yeah, I would say so there was one moment that I had where, like I said, I'm a very creative person. I'm an artist. Like, that's like my soul that I put out there. And when I realized that I had a very big switch in a previous relationship I had where they just like wanted me to stop, or they just didn't understand why I did it, or they didn't think it was of any value. And that was a moment that really showed me what I'm not willing to put up with. It was like a switch. It was like the second that I realized that this person doesn't support what my spirit wants to do, it's over. Because it's like, that's who I am, you know? It's like I feel like right now it seems like there's a lot of relationships out there that are so dependent on the things that you do and not on the spirituality behind what you're doing. Your true essence versus like what each person expects out of each other, you know?
And so it's like, talk a little bit more about that, because like I know like you're a really, really spiritual person. You're very like, I mean, so the vegans I tend to meet are actually all like that, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm hardcore vegan.
You're very in tune with the earth. You're very just like you're about just like self-care and self-help, and I think that's so important. So first of all, what is, you can help me out, like what is some advice that you would like give to not just men or not just women, but like just people in general, about like where you should stand, where what's the good standing of a relationship, how your actual physical health ties into the health and status of like your actual relationships with people.
Yeah, so this is like a really huge one actually. So health, I'm like such a health freak. It's like my number one priority. And I think that when you see, like, it's so attractive to me when I see men who really make that a priority, taking care of themselves, because it shows me that, like, this can be sustainable. Because I wouldn't want to be in a relationship where someone has all these bad habits and then I'm kind of like, I don't know, because I don't think that each person should depend on each other for what their habits are,
Right.
but habits just rub off sometimes because you're just spending so much time around one person. Certain things rub off, and I want to be with someone who would help me live the lifestyle I'm already living, which is like trying to be as healthy as I can be. I wouldn't want to like feel like I have to compromise my health to be with someone.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's like, and there's the other thing too is that even just on a like basic level, the way you take care of yourself says a lot about what you can offer someone else. Because if you are trying to, it's like if you can't even take care of yourself, then any action you make to try to help someone else is going to be done out of that perspective, which isn't always the healthiest. So for instance, like there have been times where, you know, someone who isn't showing a lot of love to themselves, they'll be constantly reaching out to me for all this validation, and it's like you'll never be able to satisfy what they're looking for because they can only provide that validation to themselves. But if they don't have that, they're going to be constantly seeking you out, and the relationship will deteriorate because it'll become this parasitic type of energy where one person's leeching off the other one.
Right, and kind of driving that other person either whatever direction.
Insane.
That they're going. Right.
Yeah. But yeah, and I don't know, the physical stuff too, as shallow as this might sound, like it's an investment. Like when you see someone who puts investment in how they, like when someone who actually cares about how they're presenting themselves and how they feel every day, because that's what being healthy is all about, really is about wanting to feel your best every day so that the decisions you make out of that mentality would be aligned and good because you're feeling good when you make them. So I don't know where I was going with that.
No, that's perfect. And like, yeah, I truly agree with what you just said, because I think that like I have definitely had a problem that, because like I was, you know, I like to think of myself as a nice guy, I guess. And growing up, I always used to have issues with. I would have a lot of friends, and I still have a lot of friends now, but like I find myself kind of clinging to them in certain ways, which is not necessarily healthy. It's not necessarily the best thing that I should be doing, considering that like the reason why it's happening is because of my own kind of insecurities for whatever reason, or if it's not that case, it's the case of like I'm allowing them to put, you know, burdens on me that I'm not, you know, fit to necessarily do, even though I'm nice enough to act like I am going to be able to help them out. And like I think like a lot of ways, like the way that we find ourselves out who we are individually sometimes is kind of from those moments of, you know, people kind of infringing upon us, or our interaction with others, not so much with ourselves.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
How we kind of put ourselves on others kind of determines what kind of person you are too. Because I feel like there's been so many times where I felt like you know, those days where you're lonely, or you're looking for some kind of approval or some kind of acknowledgement, and the first thing you do, I gotta go post on Facebook something to get somebody to like my
to
status.
Get some validation.
Right, or I gotta, you know, Snapchat. I gotta Snapchat, you know, a girl to make me seem like I'm moving the right ways towards a relationship, or you know, I gotta. It's like stuff like that where you kind of understand like those insecurities that are kind of that kind of energy is kind of being applied to the physical. You know what I mean? And yeah, I definitely think that has traveled so far, you know, with me growing as an adult, you know. But I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
So I wanted to keep on going, kind of on to sidetrack that for a sec, but like kind of expand on this whole idea of, you know, the good and the bad. What is good for the humanity? What's good for the environment? What's good for these spaces where you know, we were talking about feminists or non-feminists, or those who are male, those who are female, those who are any particular gender binary, non-binary, transgender, same. How these people like kind of react with one another. What is a good way in which, because it's natural for people to be different. One, let me just say that. A way, that's why when we were in school as children, they used to make us chant thousands of times, I will respect blah blah blah, I will respect this, respect your neighbor, respect blah blah. You don't have to agree with somebody, but you have to respect them. And like I feel like a lot of times, like when you get to adulthood, this whole thing of respect somewhere along the way just kind of disappears.
It's thrown in the garbage.
It's like just like a buzzword that is there that nobody really pays attention to.
Yeah.
But I was like, where do you kind of stand on that? What is some of the things that you see that are good and people should continue to do as it relates to just like meeting others, or you know, it's you as a female, like how we talked about how guys, your pet peeves and your likes with guys, but like what is something that you think it should be just kind of like the model, the blueprint for how you talk to people or how you engage with people based off their difference from you?
I think that, like, as simple as this sounds, just to come always go into a conversation trying to learn something. Always go into it with the intention of learning from the person you're interacting with, and not with trying to teach anything.
Good advice. Such good advice,
you know?
Honestly.
Yeah, I think that, like, if everyone could just try to be a student to every human they have an interaction with, we wouldn't be where we are, you know? Like, because everyone is so obsessed with teaching other people what their values are.
Or acting like they know.
Or acting like they know, right. But I think that if everyone just cared enough to want to understand the other point of view, like, and it's weird because people don't necessarily think they're going to benefit from knowing what the other side is or trying to understand what the other side is, because people are very caught up in their beliefs. They identify with their beliefs, and if they're challenged, then it threatens their identity, you know? And that's why people have a very strong reaction when they talk to people who have different views than them. But I think that a big thing to remember is that just because you are, for a moment, trying to understand the other side, it doesn't mean that you have to adopt that as your new viewpoint. You know, like, you can still entertain beliefs and still try to understand beliefs without becoming that. And I think that that's why a lot of people are so afraid to know the other side, because they feel like they won't be this anymore if they feel the other way. But you can understand the other side and still maintain your own opinions, you know?
Right. And I think, that's that. And definitely that's something I have seen, where it's just like people feel as someone else's kind of pledge or allegiance to something is an automatic infringement on them or infliction on what they believe.
Right.
When that might not even be, just because, you know, like I said, it's natural for people to be different, but like that might not even, just because somebody's different, they're like, over here, I like red, doesn't mean that like I hate you because you like blue. You know what I'm saying? Like, and
just because they like red doesn't mean that blue's being taken away. Like, blue's still there. You can still like blue.
Right. And I think that causes like something that's why I say that's such good advice, is because like that is usually how the beginning of problems are. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like something as small and as simple as dumb is like kind of like understanding that it's okay to not necessarily agree with the person and not to take it personal. And like kind of leading on to the next question I had was just kind of like, what are your kind of aspirations for people? How things, because you know, I mean, I'm sure you pay attention to the news all the time, and you kind of see some of the stuff that has been occurring. I unfortunately had the displeasure of reading an article the other day about just like these two officers that were accused of, you know, raping a little girl, 14-year-olds, in the back of a car.
Oh God!
And, you know, there's been like a huge.
Where was that?
I'm pretty sure it's like, don't quote me on that. I thought it was in Utah, but I'll go look back on and find out later.
Crazy.
You know, there's huge coming. You know, the incidents like those kind of help us to continue to talk about it, and the discussion becomes larger. More people are involved. But me, and that's just the negative aspect of. That I'm pointing out right now. There's also positive stuff that's happening too. I love one of my favorite kind of like women's appreciation kind of programs is Black Girls Rock, which is I love the, you know, they invite like a lot of these great African American leaders to come in and just talk about them in their womanhood and the success that they have had, the
That's
obstacles
awesome.
that they face. But like that's what I'm saying. Like what like. I'm a very optimistic person. I understand that it's going to forever be good and evil in the world, and that sometimes when you're looking on the news, it looks like there's more evil than there's good.
Yeah.
But I feel as if like we are, in some sense, ultimately moving in the right direction.
I think so too. I think that with like things like social media is really changing the game. I think that for the first time, we have access to media that's not being controlled by the people in power. So we get to control what gets popular now with social media. Like now there's all these different campaigns you see on Instagram of women embracing their bodies, not fitting into certain beauty standards that are perpetrated by the mainstream media. It's like, I think social media, I think that the more that we pay less attention to the media that's fed to us, and the more we focus on creating our own media for this new world, the better off we'll be. That's kind of what I feel like is going to happen. I think that people are going to start creating the video, like what we're doing right now. People are going to start creating the videos and the commercials and the products that empower people to be themselves. And I think that's what's going to take over to the point where mainstream media is going to be like a thing of the past. I really believe that. Because
there's so many, and that's one of the positives and the negatives. Like there's so many different like outlets for news now. There's so many different platforms for anybody to get exposed and get a lot of people tuning in, and
to be both good and bad.
Right. Because like there's
a lot of fake news going around.
I've been caught with a bunch of like fake news statuses before, and I've had panic attacks about it, but it wasn't real. But like I said, like it's like you said, that like ultimately there's like more is being seen, and like these conversations are being had, and like now.
And you can choose to tune into it. Like you can choose what kind of vibe you want to tune into. Like you don't have to tune into the things that make you feel like shit anymore.
Right.
You know?
So on that, like, do you see, like, we just had a great, this is why I ultimately think it's getting better, because we did just have a great, there's a great election run where the female candidate, Hillary Clinton, was, by the popular vote, she got more votes technically, and she would have won the presidency. Do you think that something like that is a sign? You have other, you know, there's tons of different other, I would say, like achievements that have been happening worldwide. You know what I'm saying? You're having some for, pretty sure, I think it's Liberia, a lot of these like African countries, South Asian, Middle Eastern, they're having some of the first female fields positions in their, you know, political offices and stuff. There's these initiatives for women's educations. I don't know if you're WannAlana. I love her work. She just got accepted into Oxford, by the way. Shout out
WannAlana.
I mean, like, I'm just saying, like, a lot of these things that are happening, I think these are, like, kind of just, like, glimpses and steps of what our future will look like and steps into the right direction. But, is there anything that you think that, like, any theories or any weird, like, aspirations you have for females in general, or do you have, like, is there anything that you see happening, and, like, do you see us having our first female president?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that just as time goes on, women are going to continue to take more positions of leadership. They're going to continue to move up in all industries, in science, in arts, in politics, medicine, just everything. And I think that, like I said, I think that with things like social media now, with the way that we are able to spread the information that we want to see, these stories are going to be more heard about. Because I think that there's plenty of women right now doing incredible things, but it's just not being documented. It's just not being talked about.
Well, I feel like it's always been like that, honestly.
But now, I don't know, the iPhone is a powerful tool. It's so powerful. Like, we can put out anything now, and I think that's what women should really hone in on, is the marketability of social media, like being able to share their talents and share their ideas on this platform, you know, like being able to share more of who they are and themselves and their skills, and just like be recognized for it by demanding recognition, not waiting for it, but by demanding it, you know?
And I feel like that I totally agree with that, because like it's the demand too is like gotten so it's so strong now, and it's just like how it was right after World War II, when you had a huge infiltration of females into the labor force while a lot of men were overseas fighting the war. Like, that was like, those are instances of those are like the turning points. Those that kind of demanding for equality are kind of like the turning points for when equality is actually achieved. You know what I mean? And I was gonna say, excuse me, I lost my train of thought. I was gonna say that I think that like a lot of what we're seeing, like I read it's funny, I read an article by the Economist the other day that was saying that first, not only we kind of already knew this, so this I'm unbiased, that like the education rates as far as males graduation rates are decreasing, and you know, females have a lot better chance of, you know, getting, you know, higher education, bachelor's, master's degree, finishing up school. And they're ultimately, since there's the recession in 2008, that they've kind of driven back, they're the main drive in the workforce now. So a lot of women are joining the workforce. Some of the positions they're getting are, you know, that's kind of varies, but like, if females were to do like computer science and more technical like majors instead of, you know, management or administrative or health science and stuff, I'll be honest, with the destruction of the manufacturing sector, like, guys wouldn't really have a job, because females are becoming so much more stronger and more, I mean, you know, more stronger when I mean intellectually. They're more, they have the resumes and stuff to back up a lot of these, the backup technology, which is, you know, essentially the future and stuff. So I'm like, what do you think that, I kind of wanted to hear your thoughts on that. Just like, what do you see? I kind of see, this is me, I kind of see a complete turn point for the better, of where things are, where it's like a lot of males are, because of this, it's kind of like backlashing on us now, where because of our sense of entitlement, a lot of we feel as if we're going to get these positions because we're men, you know, and we're not getting the education to back it up. And, you know, females aren't playing. So like, I mean, what do you think that, like?
I mean, I think eventually there will be a point where there's gonna be, because right now there's more men in positions of leadership than there are women.
Right.
But I think that there's gonna be a point where that flips on itself. There's gonna, like as women continue to take powers of leadership and get offered opportunities of leadership, there will be a point where the women outnumber the men in leadership. And I think at that point, I feel like once that happens, then everything will truly be like of a new world or of a new thing. Because until that happens, we're still living under the majority of men's leadership.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think that's also too, like, and I think it'll be, like I said, as for me, in my opinion, and like I don't want to disappoint the guys that are watching, like, it'll definitely be something interesting to see, because, like, for example, you have like all your stigmas and stereotypes that, oh, you know, women are...
People like to think that women's ability to be in tune with their emotions is a bad thing, but I actually think that
it's a good
thing. It's an asset. It's not a detriment. It's an asset to be emotionally aware and emotionally intelligent. Like, that's an asset because it allows you to take all different perspectives into consideration before you make a decision. Because right now, I feel like, you know, with the current administration, Donald Trump, like, I feel like you're seeing a manifestation of toxic masculinity, and you're seeing the effects of that. The fact that he's not an empathetic person, he's making decisions without considering how people feel and how people are going to be affected. Whereas women, because we tend to be more empathetic, we tend to be more in touch with how we feel. That would ensure a decision that truly is best for the collective, because we're able to empathize more easily with the people being affected by whatever decisions we're making. I feel like most women, they tend to think more about how their decisions are affecting things.
I think it's more of a nurturing nature that just could really do us some good.
Yeah, hell yeah. Everyone needs to be held now, and just like...
And like I said, like my station, like we, politics wise, like we're not like either side, like conservative or liberal. I feel as if you could still, the issue here is something that is a bipartisan issue, where you see that, for example, a guy like Donald Trump is a male figure, kind of like some of male figures in the past, that feels as if he can, you know,
do whatever he wants.
Exactly, say whatever he wants, and not really care about the effects that how it affects other people. And that really gets even more complex when you start adding race, sex, gender, and, you know, class dynamics to it too, where it's like, oh, if he's the farther away you are from this guy, you know what I mean, what is your situation going to be like, or how are you going to be affected by it negatively or positively? Yeah, I think that is definitely the situation that we have to deal with right now. And I kind of in closing, I wanted to get what is something that you think, for a guy, not necessarily Donald Trump, but like a guy, if there's any advice or just kind of like something that you would like want them to think about when making their decisions as a human being for the well-being of just everybody, you know what I mean? So there won't be these divisions, oh, I'm a male, I'm a female, I'm a woman, you're a man, or...
I think the best thing for a guy to think about when making decisions is it honest to himself, and is it coming out of ego, or is it coming out of genuinely wanting the best for everyone? Because I think that there are a lot of guys out there who make decisions out of their ego because they want recognition, they want some type of power, they want to feel, you know, like responsible for the good things that come out of the decision. Like they want the credit, you know, all this stuff. But instead of those reasons, I would just say, like, make sure that what you're doing is not for those reasons, but it's because you actually care about the people. I don't know how to explain what I'm saying.
No, I actually totally hear what you're saying too. I think that like that self self-assessment, kind of self-reflection, like.
But even like honesty, emotional honesty, and sticking to it, you know, like, because there are some guys out there who think they're being nice by staying with a girl because they don't want to hurt her feelings, even if they don't feel like she's the one for them.
Right.
That's not a nice thing to do.
Right.
Because you're being dishonest. Like, you think that you're doing the right thing because you're like, oh, I care about her, I don't want to hurt her feelings. But in reality, you are preventing her from having a real connection with someone who might actually meet her at the same level where she's at, as opposed
I feel like
to
that comes back around to bite a lot of times too.
It does.
Yeah.
Like emotional honesty. Be honest. If you aren't feeling it, say it. That is the most respectful thing you can do, is to just be open and honest about where you're at with how you feel and with your intentions and with, just communicating things and considering all perspectives involved before making any decisions.
Alrighty, well, I think that kind of hits it.
For
like,
sure.
I love that last one. So, like I said, I had a great guest today to help me out with this
Thanks for
video.
having me.
No problem. You are always welcome to come back on Mike Fulahope's YouTube channel. I will put all of her social media links in the bottom description box. Please do subscribe to her channel.
Make sure you check out the video we're going to be posting on my channel.
We got
too,
another
by the
video
way.
that we're doing right after
Part
this.
2,
We want you guys to see this.
Yeah.
And subscribe to Mike Fulahope. So check out all my social media links, all her social media links. If you have some questions or recommendations or pieces of advice, anything you liked about this video, please do comment below.
Yeah, we'd love to hear your thoughts, perspectives.
Like I said, this is a very, and that's why I wanted to do this video in the first place, because this is a very open and kind of there's no
no judgment.
there's no blueprint. There's no this conversation is kind of still getting grounded. You know what I mean? There's so many things you could say in this discussion on this topic. So I want to hear your perspective on it, and I want to kind of connect with you on this kind of the same thing that we all had to endure and see in our society on a daily basis. So Mike Fulahope out. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
And we will talk to you soon. More videos
See you in the
coming
next
to you.
video.